To call to order the second monthly meeting of the Hendersonville City Council, July 26, 2023. Is there anything anyone would like to have added to or removed from this evening's agenda? Or if not, a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, is there any discussion? No, those in favor of the agenda as presented say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it. We have our agenda. And presentations. Water and Sewer System 100th Anniversary Celebratory Toast. Woo-hoo.
Mayor Volk, I'll ask Adam Stewart, who in just a few days will be our new utility director upon Lee Smith's retirement. I think Lee has actually retired already. I see him in the building, but Adam is doing all the work. So, and this is Lee's last meeting, but he's still letting Adam do all the work. So there you go.
No, good. Thank you, mayors and members of City Council. Good afternoon. Adam Stewart, Utilities Engineer. So today we celebrate the 100-year anniversary of Hendersonville's modern water system. By the late 1890s, Hendersonville's water supply, consisting of a small reservoir in Laurel Park, was becoming inadequate for public health and fire protection for the growing community. The inadequacies were most apparent in the summer months when seasonal visitation was highest, along with water usage. At one point, to conserve water, city officials ordered the system to be turned off at night and prohibited the use of water for streets, lawns, and gardens, punishable by a fee of $25. A new source for Hendersonville was desperately needed. After several years of discussion and multiple engineering studies, Pisgah Mountain water from the headwaters of the North Mills River was selected as the new city's water source in April 1922. The Hendersonville News described the new source to contain the finest, purest water east of the Rockies. Construction of the new water source, which included an intake dam, over 16 miles of pipeline, and a 5 million gallon distribution reservoir, began in the summer of 1922. Over 7,200 pieces of 16-inch cast iron pipe, weighing over 1 ton each, were transported up and down hills, across creeks, and across rocky areas to complete the 16-mile pipeline. Much of the pipeline was installed by hand with the assistance of mules and oxen. The 20-foot-tall intake dam was constructed at the confluence of Big Creek and Fletcher Creek in a remote region of the Pisgah National Forest that makes up the headwaters of the North Mills River. A 5 million gallon distribution reservoir located about 1 mile east of Main Street on Ewert's Hill was also constructed. At today's meeting, we celebrate a century of progress, for it was exactly 100 years ago today, in July of 1923 at 5:30 in the p.m., that Hendersonville turned on its new modernized water cistern that continues to provide some of the water that has unsurpassed purity of anywhere in America. Today, the same system serves as a backbone of our modern water utility operations. In 1923, the new water system was completed. Hendersonville had a population of about 4,000 people. Over the past 100 years, the water system has grown significantly and now serves approximately 75,000 people in Hendersonville and surrounding Henderson County, over a network of over 680 miles of water pipes. So at this time, let us raise our water bottles in a toast honoring the dedication and forethought of our past leaders and the hard work of the Hendersonville Water Department personnel over the past century. Cheers.
Cheers. And I missed my mouth.
Great. Thank you.
Every time.
Thank you.
Adam, can I ask you one question? Those big ton pipes, are they still in the ground? Do we still use those?
We do.
Wow.
Every day.
How about that?
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
They built things well back then.
They sure did.
To last. All right. Thank you for that review of history. Next, formation of Community Advisory Committee for Comprehensive Plan.
All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm here this evening to talk about next steps in the formation of the Community Advisory Committee. I don't have a presentation. If you'll recall, we talked about this at the outset of June. We're getting close to a number of the kind of kickoff dates for our comprehensive plan outreach in the community, which will include a whole variety of activities, from a survey to pop-up events to more dedicated listening events in the community, all of which will be taking place kind of in a 3-month window beginning later on in August and running in through November. One of the key components of that is the Community Advisory Committee, which is a stakeholder group of citizens, residents, business owners, et cetera, within the community that participate in 2 consultant-led workshops and with 1 staff-led kind of introduction to the comprehensive planning process and kind of help us get the word out and all that good stuff. When I came before you in June, we shared a list of potential candidates for that. We've since put together some, a list of some staff suggested names. And what I would like, so our first meeting, the staff-oriented meeting for the Community Advisory Committee is scheduled for August 14th. So your August 9th meeting would be the meeting at which you would actually appoint these members. But we would like to begin reaching out to them, before then to confirm their availability and to have conversations with them about what the involvement on the committee would be and what the expectations are and all that good stuff. We have talked about having between sort of 12 and 15 members. The list that we provided had, more than that on it. And you all may have other names that you would like for us to reach out to. I have a relatively loose idea of how we'll do what's next. But I guess that perhaps one of the approaches would be that we begin reaching out to folks on the list and any additional names that you want us to include in that outreach and try to zero in on a 12 to 15 member committee. Otherwise, if you would like to participate in a more active role on that selection process and sort of figuring out who's available and who's not, we could talk about that today. John, I don't know if I'm getting too sideways here or not, but I'll look at him and you all give me direction on how you'd like to proceed.
Suggestions? Anyone?
Suggestions as in?
People or procedures on how to select these people? Solicit interest?
Yeah.
I have two names, Beth Robertson and Jay Egoff.
I was looking, I think the prospective members' suggestions are great. I was trying to look at where we have holes. We don't have somebody in a category that you had identified. So I came up with Laura Bannister, or Lori McCammon or someone else from True Ridge might be a good in with the Latinx community.
I think, yeah, Lori is kind
Lori's
of,
kind of stepped back, so let's,
yeah, but I could talk to Melissa Soto.
yeah, I think that would
True
be.
Ridge now.
That would be a great option, and then Jerry would also know more about this, but maybe to get the high school kids in, we could reach out to some of the Key Club
Yeah, well, I already have, if you don't mind, I have two kids in particular in mind.
Perfect.
That I'd like to talk to about that role. I don't want to say anything because I haven't talked to them,
Yeah.
but I have two people in mind. You talking about for the youth population role?
Yeah, I just think, because I know this is a much longer list than the amount of people we want to put on there, but I think it would be critical to have a high school student on there.
And I know someone who lives out in Wolf Pen on 64 East,
Debbie, can I ask you a
might
question?
be interested.
Excuse me. I had a question for Debbie. So did you nominate Jay as the Henderson County Schools person? Okay.
I was just assuming that everybody that was already on that list was gonna be contacted. Is that not the case, or I'm confused?
I think
I think that's the
as soon as
case.
boxer, we're supposed to choose one.
Oh, whoopsie.
Yeah, because I think the idea is to have max 15 people, right?
Yeah, so there would be some,
But I assume everybody that you talk to on that list is not gonna be able to commit to it.
Right.
that's right. So that list, and no one on that list has been contacted.
Nobody's been talked to yet.
Yeah,
So we were just generating
yeah.
a name of potential candidates. We would agree or assume that, not everyone would be available.
Well, and I think, when you're looking at it, like maybe a first way to narrow some people down would be, is there anyone that fits in like a couple different buckets? So like someone who may have some sort of insight on two different areas that are on the list, then it would be helpful to have that person on there because they'll give us the, perspective from different industries or sectors of the community.
I guess, Lou, the other question is, how tied are you to August 14th meeting?
So I suppose that question would pop itself up. I think our goal, there are a lot of moving pieces in the scheduling, so we would not want to slide too far from that in terms of getting that committee engaged. We see that meeting itself being, could be attended virtually and in person. It's not the consultant meeting, so it would just be staff, and it would really just be an introduction to the timeline and to the comprehensive plan process itself. So it would give us, Allison and Matt, the opportunity to kind of talk through what's going to be taking place and even be providing dates to that committee so that if they are available, to participate in some of the other activities that occur during the course of the outreach, they would know about them, right from the outset. So even to where I'm going is, is attendance at that meeting absolutely essential for their participation on the CAC, not as important as the meetings held by the consultant later in the process.
But at that meeting, are you going to be scheduling the later meetings?
No, those will be predetermined.
Okay, so, one thought I have is add the names that have been, whatever names are added today. You guys contact people. It's sort of like a committee, and some people might say, no, I can't do it. And it might have 2 or 3 people that say, yes, I'd like to do it. And then at the next meeting, if that's the case, we choose someone. And it's the case that no one said they could do it, then we would know ahead of time, we need to come to this meeting with someone to fill that slot, with the understanding that they may miss meeting number 1, but you're already going to have the rest of the meetings in place, or the dates, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
'Cause that's the first thing everybody's going to ask is,
Yeah.
how many meetings and when are they?
Yeah, there will be a total of 3 that they would,
Be asked.
that are their meetings, that are community advisory committee meetings. And then there will be a variety of other outreach and engagement opportunities that will encourage them to participate in as they're available.
I don't know, what do y'all think about that idea?
Makes sense?
Yeah, and in the meantime, we'll take the list and we'll just communicate back and forth and try to narrow the list by attrition, that folks that can't do it, and also make sure we're covering representation. And as Councilmember Simpson said, that may cover multiple roles until we get down to a reasonable number.
I have two students in mind that I'll talk to and
Okay,
let you know.
that's great.
And
I was hoping,
I'll send you the name of the woman from Wolf Pen and her contact
Perfect.
information.
yeah, perfect. And I got your two names, and the only name I didn't get was Lindsay, you mentioned the name.
Laura Bannister?
I've got it, Lou.
Okay, you
I've
got
got
those.
everybody. So.
Okay, all right.
Did anybody say someone from a religious institution? So that's another one we need to get. Okay.
That's all I have. It sounds like we've got some direction. John, you're good, right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now, presentation regarding creation of public services department.
Thank you. Mayor Volt, members of City Council, just going to take a couple of minutes. At the last couple of City Council meetings, we've taken small actions to do a reorganization particularly as it affects this building, as it relates to our public works, our public utilities, and our engineering department. So I thought I'd shed a little bit more light on my thoughts on what the of what the new department will look like, and talk a little bit about why we're doing it in the leadership. And I will, Lee's got 2 days left, and 2 days and 1 hour, so this is all his fault. Oh, Lee left.
He's already left. He's like, Adam's got it. He tapped him on the shoulder.
He really is retired on active. Wow, I was joking, but I think he really is retired on active duty. Anyway, with Lee's retirement, it gave us an opportunity to look at the structure of the departments in this building and look at ways to, as the quote said, and I'm attributed the quote, I'm not sure I said it, but I'll give the communications department credit for, but it's about building a strong foundation for our future, because our city continues to grow and we're looking for opportunities for efficiency. So under the current departmental configuration, in this building we have 3 separate departments that are managed by a director, and each of those directors are answer directly to the city manager, and that includes Tom Wooten, who's the Public Works Director. Currently, Lee Smith is Utilities Director, and Brent Detweiler is City Engineer. So we have those 3 departments that answer to me, and as part of that answering, and management requires me to set up separate meetings with each of those folks on a regular basis, which from time to time becomes hard. It's hard to do based on other tasks that I have and other things that I'm trying to do. So that's the current configuration. And so what Brian and I talked about, and this is the configuration I'm getting to show you, is not unusual. It is common as cities grow to have a more unified configuration as it relates to our city operations, because all 3 of these departments do similar things and they have similar personnel and equipment. So the new configuration would be that those 3 departments would be managed by one single director, a public service director, who would then, a public works division director and a public utilities division director and a city engineer would answer up to the public services director, who would then be in direct line of authority to the city manager. So if you're thinking about an org chart, you have the citizens, the city council, city manager, city attorney, and then below that, assistant city manager and public service director and police, fire, and so forth and so on. And so the direct report for me would then be the one person versus 3 people that would be my direct reports, the public services director and those folks. And I have appointed Brent Detweiler as the public services director. Brent, as you know, is our current city engineer. And I'll talk a little bit more about what I feel like, what Brent's role will be the reason I made the choice. Tom Wooten will continue to be the Public Works Director. Adam Stewart will be our Public Utilities Director and be permitted, and then City Engineer will promote, or are promoting, Brendan Shanahan, who's already in the Engineering Department. So that is our plan going forward, but they then would answer to a member of our executive management team, and I'll talk about that, who will be Brent at Public Services Director. So why are we doing this? Which happens in any organization, particularly as you get larger. Departments tend to operate in silos, or can operate in silos. We're trying to break that down, but these three departments are very similar. Again, similar equipment. Their funding is obviously different. The utility fund covers the utilities department. General fund covers public works, and then engineering is split between the two funds. But from time to time, they can operate in silos and are not always communicating like we would like for them to. Each department can have different cultures and policy implementation or interpretation. Again, performing similar tasks but may not be communicating as well as we'd like for them. As I said, from time, I get busy doing other things externally and don't always have the time that I feel is necessary to manage these three large departments in this building. We end up with lack of communication, and then there are inefficiencies that do exist. So by creating this merged department under one single leadership, we feel like that we're going to centralize under a centralized leadership under a technical, big picture minded individual. Obviously Brent fits that category. Technically, but he sees the big picture, can see across departments and can see the opportunity for improvements and advancement. We think we can improve communication among all three public services departments by having a central management team in this building under Brent's leadership. We can have better utilization of limited resources, staff, equipment, time, which are the three key things as it relates to limited resources. From our perspective, we think we can provide better public services, and we can improve team chemistry among the three public services departments by, again, having that unified leadership. We want to eliminate silos. We want to develop one culture among the public services, and that the public services, along with the assistant city manager, the city attorney, and communication manager, will be part of an executive leadership team that can help guide the organization as it moves forward. So those are the goals and opportunities, and I think it'd be a good opportunity as the city continues to grow to do that. That is really that's what we're proposing or what we're planning to do. We think it'll take, I'll admit it'll take us, Brent and I have talked about this, and Brian, it'll take us a couple of years to really mold it into one unified department. But there'll be some opportunities there to change things over time, and we think it will really set the city up for the future as we continue to grow when as things change in the community. So just wanted to provide that background and give you a little bit of detail.
Anyone have any questions?
I have one. How does this position fit in with the assistant city manager? Just kind of wondering how that all works together.
So in the org chart, basically it'd be city manager, assistant city manager, and this would be the third in line of succession.
Okay.
Third in line, but it would answer directly to the city manager.
Okay.
So, but just want to provide that publicly and then to the city council so you would have that detail.
Okay. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? All right.
I have a comment about 3B.
Oh,
Couldn't get my graph. Sorry, I couldn't get my graph pulled up, and I had thought that I saw something about ag on there, but I think it was just environmental. And so I was just wondering if we thought it would be worthwhile, since this is like apple country, if we have somebody from either the farming or ag, maybe Mark Williams or somebody, just to kind of get some input from them with the comp plan.
Okay.
Okay, that's all.
All right. Closed session.
Is no longer needed.
Oh,
Woo-hoo.
Is this like a record?
hold on a
Yeah, I
second.
think so.
We're not out the door yet. Mm-mm.
Oh,
No, I don't have anything. I'm just saying. When the mayor says we're adjourned, we can start talking about records.
All right.